it was only about 2 years ago, shortly after we wrote our first article on collective impact, that I got a call from this gentleman from Waterloo. And his name was Paul Bourne, in case you're wondering. And I thought he was a very nice gentleman, very polite, very charming. And he said, we'd really love you to come up. We're having our annual Tamarack Institute conference, and this year it's going to be Calgary, and we'd love to have you come up and speak with our folks. And of course, like all of us, we've got tons of things going on, and certainly we've gotten many, many contacts around the initial article, speaking requests from, really all over the world. And my first reaction was to sort of politely put Paul off and to say, well, thank you so much for calling. I'm sure you're doing great work. Unfortunately, I just can't make it. But for those of you who know Paul, and Rathna talked about this earlier, Paul does not take no for an answer, and he's so darn charming about it that I finally relented. And the other thing I will tell you, though, along the way, that I was taken with Paul's charm, but I was also taken with the fact that as we got to talking, I could tell this was somebody who really understood this work at a deep level. Now, I've only been working in the social sector for 11 years. My background prior to that was working in strategy consulting in the private sector for about 15 years, mostly with large global corporations. And, I felt like, gee, we published this article, we're doing great work, but what the heck do we really know about this sort of work? And I had this inkling. We had never done work at the time in Canada, but I did have this inkling, being out there and sort of in the mix of what was going on, that there was really some pretty, extraordinary and compelling and interesting work being done in Canada around systems change. I hadn't been directly connected to it, but I could just see that it was there. Through the work that SIG has been doing around systems change, and Francis Wesley and Brenda Zimmerman, who will be here later, had been doing around complexity and around strategy, and of course, the initial work done by Henry Mintzberg over the last several years or decades around emergent strategy, and I knew that I just had to get up here. And I had to get a better understanding so that I could learn what all of you are doing, and to get a sort of a better bead on how we could bring a lot of the learning that is happening here back to the United States, but also really around the globe. And that initial meeting was a real opportunity for us to really get a better introduction to what's going on here. And I feel like we have just scratched the surface. You all are doing some amazing work up here, and sometimes I'm sure it doesn't always feel like that, but you're really on to a lot of things that, frankly, while we may be the place where we try things out and make mistakes, I think there's a lot of innovation going on here that we can learn from. So I'm delighted to be here with you for the next 2.5 days.